In January of 1959, 9 experienced hikers walked into the Ural Mountains of Russia. None of them walked out. They were students and graduates of the Ural Polytechnical Institute. Their leader was Igor Dyatlov, 23 years old, one of the most skilled young mountaineers in the region. The group was experienced, well-equipped, and had completed difficult expeditions before. They were hiking to Otterton Mountain, a challenging but manageable route for people of their caliber. They expected to return by February 12th. When that date passed with no word, a search party was sent. What they found has never been fully explained. The group's tent was discovered on the slope of a mountain, now called Dyatlov Pass in their honor. It was buried under snow and badly damaged, but not from the outside. It had been cut open from within. Someone inside the tent had taken a knife and slashed through the fabric to create an exit. The skis and poles they had used to reinforce the tent walls were still in place. Their food was still inside. Their shoes were still inside. Every piece of cold weather gear they would have needed to survive minus 40-degree temperatures was still inside the tent. They had fled in their socks into one of the most brutal environments on Earth. The search party followed their tracks down the slope into the tree line below. There, they found 2 of the hikers, Yuri Doroshenko and Yuri Krivonishenko, at the base of a large cedar tree. They were wearing only underwear. They had died of hypothermia. The branches of the cedar above them were broken up to 5 meters high, suggesting one or both of them had climbed it, perhaps to look for something, perhaps to get away from something below. Nearby, they found Igor Dyatlov himself, frozen in the snow. He was reaching toward the camp as though he had been trying to crawl back when he died. 100 meters further, they found Zenaida Kolmogorova in the same position, reaching, crawling, going back for something or away from something else. It took 2 more months to find the remaining 4 hikers. They were buried under 4 meters of snow in a ravine deeper in the forest. This is where the case stops being strange and becomes something that investigators at the time quietly described as deeply disturbing. 3 of the 4 had fatal internal injuries. 1 had a fractured skull. 2 had crushed chest cavities, broken ribs on both sides. The force required to cause those injuries was later compared to a car crash. But there was no external trauma, no bruising on the skin, no indication of a physical struggle or a fall. Something had crushed them internally, while leaving the outside of their bodies almost untouched. One of the women, Lyudmila Dubinina, was missing her tongue, her eyes, and her lips. Soft tissue removed cleanly with no clear explanation of how or why. The official report attributed it to decomposition and scavenger animals. Investigators who examined the body disagreed privately and on the record. Their clothing, when tested, was found to contain abnormal levels of radiation. The Soviet government classified the case files and closed the investigation within months, citing the official cause of death as an unknown compelling force. That phrase, unknown compelling force, appears verbatim in the documents. It was not elaboration. It was not metaphor. It was the closest they could get to an answer. The files were declassified after the fall of the Soviet Union. Russia reopened the investigation in 2019 and closed it again in 2020 this time, attributing the deaths to an avalanche. Physicists, mountaineers, and forensic experts around the world immediately pointed out that the evidence was inconsistent with an avalanche in almost every measurable way. The snow around the tent showed no signs of displacement. The tent itself was not crushed. The injuries did not match. The 9 hikers of Dyatlov Pass went into the mountains as some of the most prepared young adventurers in the country. They cut their way out of their own tent in the middle of the night in sub-zero temperatures, without their shoes, and ran. Whatever they saw or heard in that darkness was worse to them than freezing to death in the snow. We still do not know what it was.